But it's blocked by the same man, Ramon Walker. The Ramones, a rock and roll high school. Dum, 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 dum.
Oh, that's a fast forward to week 12 of the 03 season. However, for 20 years, ladies and gentlemen, that play has been called into question because the gentleman to my left says the gentleman to his left on that play is the reason that field goal got blocked. Joining us now on the Harbor One hotline to walk down memory lane of the 03 season. He is also a Varsity Club Hall of Famer, year 2017 at Boston College. Dan Koppen, Regression Fourier. Cope, good morning. How are you?
Christian, how we doing, buddy?
What's up, buddy? Hey,
this is like 2 times in a week. That
I know.
Great.
I know. And when I saw you, I saw Dan at the Tom Brady celebration day. And I didn't recognize him because he was so skinny. Like you lost a bunch of weight, didn't you?
Well, I don't think I was ever meant to be 300 pounds. So, I just trying to take care of myself a little bit more and look more like you,
There you go.
You were always the good-looking one, and, you got to wear fake glasses. You don't even need them.
See,
you're just trying to look cool.
This just makes no sense.
No, don't forget the hair, Dan. The hair as well.
Oh, the hair, yeah, it's always shiny and permy. I don't even know what he does with the hair.
Fruits and berries, just like for the
it's Dr. Lopresti.
Hey, Cope, I've showed. Do you remember that play in Houston, right, where you were the tight end, I was the wing, and you got that field goal block for Adam Vinatieri? Do you remember that?
Yes, you know what? I do recall it, and what I do know about that game is I think offensively, did we have like 100 snaps?
We had a lot.
I'll look it up.
We had, it was overtime, or it was like 90-some, 100 snaps. It was a long game, and I believe you are correct. That may have been my fault.
Ooh. Oh, my God, Dan. You don't know what
I got him to say it.
Cope, you don't know what you've just done. This guy was walking around, Dan, being like, hey, you got to see this field goal thing, because we were just talking about the Brendan Schooler play, and then it turned into, Cope's the one who screwed that up. He's a rookie. Look at how I handled it. And I'm like, wait a minute. It didn't look like your technique was okay. Fourier has been trying to fade the heat to you on that play ever since we started talking about you coming on.
If I'm the tight end, I've got to slam down, and then I've got to hinge, and I've got to take that D-gap rusher. Did he come in the D-gap, or did he come over for it?
He came right between us, in between us.
We'll share in the responsibility.
Yeah, I think we did. I think that's what we did, actually. I think we looked at each other when we were walking off the field, and we were like, I think we're both going to have to take one bullet and just deal with it.
Yeah,
and we ended up winning the game.
If I'm as a tight end, like, you're going to slam down, and then you're going to basically just open yourself up and grab anybody that comes into that gap. And usually I'm on the ground.
This is true.
The tight end in that situation is usually just opened up, arms wide, like you're giving someone a hug. Instead, they're going to slap you in the chest and push you down. So usually the guy goes down, and I didn't go down, so I was like, oh, maybe I didn't hit somebody on that play.
And I love the fact that he was a rookie, and I was like the wily vet. I'm like, you better take the hit for this. It was your fault. Remember, it was your fault. I told you to step and hinge.
Fourier, you were a veteran bully is what you were saying?
Not with Cope.
No.
Not with Cope.
Everybody loves Dan Koppen. And Cope, in 03, because we've been doing this whole walk down memory lane, and we went through the preseason and everything with Lawyer Malloy. I want to go back to that moment, Dan. You walk into the NFL. You're walking into a Patriots locker room that was at the beginning of a dynasty. Can you take us back to the young days of Dan Koppen, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, walking into that particular locker room for the first time after being drafted?
No, I think I really think it's probably any rookie on any team. It didn't matter. 2 years ago they had won the Super Bowl, but you're not wide-eyed, and your head is almost down. Like, just, hey, let's keep my head down, focus on what I have to do. I know the locker. I don't have a real locker yet. It's in the middle of the locker room. It is metal. It's temporary. So the focus is just trying to, make the team and sort of fit in with the guys. And thankfully, as an offensive lineman, we're kind of all the same. Tight end, Fourier kind of wants to be an offensive lineman, but likes the flashy stuff also. So
Very confused.
It was a great group to go into, and Fourier talks about being a bully. They were all good and all in good fun and just trying to, get through camp.
So, Cope, I want to bring you back, okay, to 20 years ago. So, first game, Buffalo. I think Compton got hurt, right? So, whoever there was a center, I think it was Compton.
No, you have no recollection of this whatsoever.
Okay.
First game, we lose 31-0.
Yeah, to
Buffalo, right?
Yeah, I knew that one.
Welcome to the NFL. That
Okay.
was a great first game for me. London Fletcher had blown up Woody on an interception in the second half, and he ended up getting a bruised sternum or something like that. So I ended up playing, middle of third quarter, fourth quarter in Buffalo after that debacle of a game. And Compton, so Woody didn't practice all week, and I was with the ones during the practice week, knowing that there was a possibility Woody could play. We weren't gonna know that until Sunday, so they took Woody out and worked him out before the game and see if he could go or not. Well, it turns out he couldn't go, so that's why I ended up starting at center week 2. But Compton had broken his foot during training camp or in a preseason game and sort of played through it a little bit. And when Compton came out of the Philly game because of the foot, when Woody came back, they ended up just moving Woody back to guard. And I ended up and stayed at center for a while.
Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong. So did you started against Philly?
Correct.
Okay, so that was your first official start. So now you're coming off that first start. You're going into week 3. So how did you feel like after that first game? Because we got our ass kicked against Buffalo. Good win on the road against Philly. Going into the third week of your first ever season.
Yeah, it's like a whirlwind. I do remember after the Philly game never being more physically and mentally exhausted right after the game, just because obviously the skill and the physicality of the guys that you're going up with, but the separation from college to professional isn't necessarily all the size and the strength and the speed. It's the mental capacity and how smart these defensive players are. So there's no plays off whatsoever. If you're gonna let your guard down for 1 second, that guy across from you is going to take advantage. So I just remember being so tired after that game, and not necessarily like overwhelmed with it, but just all right, I gotta go back to work on Wednesday and get better. I think that was the attitude that we had all along. It's definitely crazy, like as a rookie or a fifth rounder, and just like, okay, you're going to be the starting center going forward, and 12's behind you, and Antoine Smith and Fourier and all these guys that you watch in college, and now you're playing on the same field with them, and a teammate. It's really cool.
Dan Koppen visiting with us. Of course, we are recapping and sort of going week by week in the 03 championship season in terms of looking back. And Cope, I want to ask you about sort of where...
Who do we play in week 3? Was it Washington?
You guys played the Jets. In fact, it was regular season week 3, September 21st, 23-16 win over the Jets. Fourier had 3 receptions for 49 yards.
Can I add that in there?
I had to throw that in.
You had to add that in.
I did. I don't have O-line stats. And by the way, Cope, I
do. I have some O-line stats for Cope.
I tried to look. I'm sure you do.
What? They're good.
No, but I tried to look back on that Houston game, and normally they give you the total, but they didn't back then. But the drive chart had like 17 drives, and there were some 9s and 10s in there. So Cope's right. You guys must have run a million plays.
Well, I mean, so I did.
It was an overtime game too, right?
Yes, yes. And I did look up his stats. I was trying to find lots of sound clips of all the highlights of Dan Koppen, but it's funny, they never really talk about the offensive lineman unless you do something bad. But I just for a rookie, let me add, for a rookie at the center position with that psychopath behind him playing quarterback and what he expected from his center, because I would say that's a pretty personal relationship in more ways than one, if you know what I mean. So you only had 7 penalties, Cope. You had 2 holding and 5 false starts. But I would say for a rookie, I would say I will take that all day long. Like all day long.
I would like to dispute probably a couple of those holds.
Okay. Well, you only had two of them.
There was a lot of holds. The false starts, yeah. They actually, it wasn't, I don't know if it was after that year or the next year. They actually had me get a hearing test to make sure I was hearing Tom okay, because they felt like that was too many false starts. But when Tom, Christian, when Tom gets up there and the bullets are flying, like things happen quick, and he changes plays quick. He changes mic calls quick. And right after he changed it, he could change a snap count quick. And there's a lot of you're almost like just the tension there, and you're just ready to snap the ball and go. So there were a couple flinches in there that I'd like to get taken back, but
and you blame it on him. He should get partial credit, just like the blocked field goal.
Yeah, I mean his inflection wasn't good. Yeah. He was, he wasn't loud enough. A lot of that is on his responsibility.
Kopp, a lot has been made about just didn't want to do a Brady talk, but as far as like how he is to deal with as receivers, but as an offensive lineman, I've never heard you say this before. I've never talked to you about this. This is pretty intriguing to me based on how challenging your particular position would be based on inheriting a position from a veteran player, two veteran players really, that had already had a lot of success and built up a reputation and just like sharing the same brain. And here you are thrown into the mix, expected to not have any letdown whatsoever. Like it's I feel like you should be included in all the wide receiver talk about how they can't get the offense and how it's calculus.
Oh, no. I mean, I don't know what the problem is with certain receivers that can't get it. I think it's you get out of things like what you put into it, right? So I always prided myself on being ready to go, knowing the game plan, knowing the calls, knowing the adjustments, and that allowed me to play faster. I feel like if you play any position really, anywhere, if you're thinking about things too much, you're not really reacting and you're not letting the game come to you as it's going. So it's just the more mentally prepared you are, especially for me, I felt I played better and I could sort of loosen up and actually just play the game instead of sitting there thinking. Some rookies would come in or some free agents would come in and they go through practice and they almost look robotic. And I just never felt like the game, you can play your best game robotically. There's got to be a flow to it.
Dan, I know we're on to Brady a little bit, but I'm curious. You mentioned you're a rookie. You're playing for a guy that goes down as the greatest of all time. I'm sure he's demanding, but you also were coached by Dante Scarnecchia, who is demanding, but he can be nurturing at the same time. Like, I'm curious, Dan, who walked you through the wilderness of that 2003 season, considering you got a guy behind you who can scream at you, but was he nurturing as well? How did you kind of get through all that?
No, I think they were all great. I mean, everybody was great. I think Tom and I had a great relationship from the start with OTAs and minicamp, and really with the center quarterback, procedure, snap, everything felt comfortable. What 4A was talking about, hey, there's a little bit more closeness between those two positions where the hands go and everything. So, everything felt good from that standpoint. I think we understood each other and where he wanted the ball, when he wanted the ball. Communication-wise, we were good. Scar's just great. I mean, Chris can tell you, and I'm sure he's talked for days with you guys about how great of a coach Scar is, and no stone left unturned, and everybody out there could go out there and perform like a starter under how he coached the game and taught the game. You would always pick something up and something new from every day, whether you're a 10-year vet or a rookie. You just always got something out of his coaching. In the meeting room, I don't know, on the football field, he was just very demanding. But, really, I think it was the guys in the locker room that really helped me along and making me feel comfortable, making me feel welcome, part of the team right from the start. Andruzzi, Matt Light, Compton, Woody, all those guys, Russ Oaks, those guys really made that year for me, special and a lot easier than it probably would have been if I didn't have them.
Dan Koppen with us talking about that 03 season as we look back 20 years now on that championship run. And a part of what I got to unpack with Fourier, Dan, was everything that went down with Laura Malloy and then the whole Tom Jackson comments. You're just a rookie. Does any of that stuff hit home with you whatsoever?
Probably not. And I think Bill brought us in after that happened. And had told the older guys about it. Obviously, the rookies were in the room, but I'm sure he said, rookies, you have no idea. You've only been in the NFL for 1 minute. You guys just shut the up. If you get my drift. So I really didn't know Lawyer that well. It didn't affect me as much. I know a bunch of the older guys that it affected, and it definitely should have, but. Those older guys were true professionals and put their personal feelings aside and went out and did their job and did it pretty good that year.
All right, so Dan Koppen with us real quickly, and last one for me, Koppen, and just so as far as that season goes, was almost like a two-parter. Is there a point in time that you were like, okay, we're a really good team, and and then what was your most memorable moment of that year?
Oh, God, most memorable. I don't think there was any time that I was saying we were a really good team. I just felt like I haven't been there long enough. There's no reason for me to be thinking along those lines. I think I probably said we'll be okay the first 5 years in the league. Just when people ask, hey, how you guys going to be? How you going to do this week? You're like, oh, we'll be okay. We're ready. We'll figure it out. I never wanted to say, hey, we're really good and, we're going to smoke this team. That's not how our team and how our guys operated. The best memory is definitely, starting in Philly was really cool for me. It was about an hour and 15 minutes from where I grew up. And to be able to start down there, that was a cool thing. But I think, man, there was a lot of good moments. You end up winning the Super Bowl, so that's up there too.
How about a welcome to the day you realized that you were in the NFL? Did you have an NFL moment where, like, holy crap, did you have an experience with a player? Did you see somebody that you used to idolize on the other side that you had to block? Was there anything like that?
Yeah, no. The first welcome to the NFL moment was probably going one-on-one pass pro versus Richard Seymour. And that was just like, oh, okay. He's 6'6", he's got long arms, he's 300 pounds, he can move he moves just as good as a tight end or, he's just physically gifted, and trying to block him one-on-one as a rookie was just like, I got to wait.
Sleepless nights. And then what happened when you saw Klecko on the other side where you're like, thank God, short and squatty with no arms?
He's short and squatty, but he could go side to side faster than anybody else. I'd much rather have Ted Washington there or Keith Traylor. Give me the big fat guys that can't move. I'll take them all day long. But if you give me the guy that can run, a 4.5 and he's shifty, those are the problem guys for offensive linemen.
Well, this has been a
lot of fun, Cope.
A great walk down memory lane, Cope. Thanks a bunch. You're clearly one of our favorites, and good on you for finally getting Fourier to realize that there is shared blame on that field goal block against Houston. And, thanks for the time, man. We appreciate it. Hopefully we see you down the road.
All right, guys. Hey, thank you, but it's time to let that go. We won that year. That Houston game really doesn't mean a lot.
That is true.
You're right.
But still, but it's in the mind of Fourier, and you've been there, Cope. So
I love you, buddy. Thanks.
See you, man. Thank you, brother. There goes Dan Koppen, former New England Patriot, one of the best guys around.
He went right into rookie mode. It's like, sorry, Miss Fourier, it was my fault.
He's so chill. That's the thing that I always take away with Cope. The deep down inside, there's the beast. But when you talk with him and you deal with him and you see him, of course, he's like the most affable, kind of even-keeled dude. Yet to play 13 years in the NFL or whatever he did, you've got to be a tad askew.